Hey guys, it's Faith. Welcome back to the podcast. I wanted to talk to you guys about something I see a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that I think keeps people very, very stuck, and that I think a lot of people don't even have awareness around it, right? Like they don't even know they're doing it. And if you're not aware of something and you don't even know you're doing it, you don't even know that it's a problem. There's no way you can really change it, right? If you're not aware that you're doing it and it's a problem. And so this is like it's like a secret, sneaky entrepreneur problem that I think a lot of people have and thought pattern that I think a lot of people have that I want to share with you guys today. So basically, when I think about business and I think about growing the business, there's kind of two things that happen. There's like the difficulty of the actual skills you need to learn. Business is really, really just a series of skills, right? So being on camera is a skill, making products is a skill, marketing and sales is a skill, getting traffic is a skill. And a lot of these skills are hard to learn, right? And a lot of them people even go to college to get full degrees on, right? Like you could go to college and just get a 4-year degree just in business management, right? You could get a degree just in web design and graphics, just in marketing. And for us with these online businesses, we have to know business management, marketing, design, all kinds of different things to some extent, right? You can outsource some of that stuff, but to some extent, even when you're outsourcing, you have to have an understanding to be able to supervise those employees. You're still responsible for the results that your contractors or employees are getting. So there's the actual difficulty of learning the skill, right? The actual time, mental energy it takes to practice something enough times to be good at it, right? So let's say I want to make a new website. It's the first time I've ever made a website. I've never done that before. I can still remember like my first time trying to put a website together. And I remember sitting on my couch and buying the domain and trying to connect everything. That was back in the day of WordPress. Like, and for someone that's not tech savvy, like WordPress is not easy. And I remember just feeling so scared I was doing it wrong and so overwhelmed, right? And so if you guys are putting together a website or doing something new in your business, there's those actual hard skills you need to learn, the actual things that are difficult to learn, the actual skills you need to learn. But then the part I want to talk to you guys about and where I think the leverage really is the optional layers of suffering, right? This is what we talk about in the mastermind a lot on some of our coaching calls is like where are the optional layers of suffering, the like bonus additional suffering that we're creating that's not required, right? And so what I see people do a lot of times is they're trying to do something very difficult, like teaching themselves web design or teaching themselves marketing or teaching themselves sales or teaching themselves product development, market research, all these things. They're doing something hard and then they're layering on extra bonus suffering, right? And that looks like a few different things. The main ways I see it show up is catastrophizing. So it's like, I'll never recover. Like my launch worked and it's never gonna work. Or I will never be able to make this happen, right? So it's like everything is a catastrophe. There's self-doubt. So it's like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm cut out for this. What if this isn't for me, right? Doubting yourself, the comparison, I'm sure none of you guys do this, right? The comparison is when we go online and we're like, so and so's already doing this and they're doing it so much better, and I'll never be able to do it that good. And look at her beautiful vlogs and look at her beautiful website. Like, I could never be that, right? There's the comparison suffering, and then the perfectionism suffering, which is like, it has to be perfect or it's not going to work. And it's not good enough, so it's never going to work. And making yourself feel like if it's not perfect, then that means you're not going to be successful, right? And it's the meaning that we actually give things that creates the suffering, right? Making the web design is neutral, learning the skills is neutral, right? So that might be hard. It might take a lot of time. It might take a lot of mental energy. And I would like to normalize that for you guys. I think there's been a huge disservice done to people that want to have online businesses with all of the really flashy income reporting that was very popular a couple years ago, with all these stories about like you can just have an online business and make $10,000 months, and like it makes it sound a lot easier than what it really is. And I think it's misleading in terms of what most people's actual experience is building an online business. And I want to normalize it's gonna be hard and that's fine. Like it's not a problem, right? But can you see the difference if your thought process is like, oh yeah, like I knew this was gonna be hard. I'm learning a new skill. Of course it's gonna be hard. Business is hard. I knew it was going to be hard, and that's not a problem. That line of thinking versus the line of thinking of the like, I'm never going to be able to do it, or I'm not cut out for this. What if I'm not cut out for this? Or so and so stuff is better, or it needs to be perfect, or it's never going to work, right? And so I want you guys to start noticing where your brain is doing this. So thinking about what are the skills that you're trying to develop in your business right now. For most of us, I really want to normalize this again. For most of us, I think we're always going to be learning new things. We're always going to be trying new things. We're always going to be testing things. Right now, I'm learning a ton of stuff in my business, right? I'm putting together a new Shopify store. Shout out. Hopefully, by the time you guys are watching this, the Shopify store is live. You can go to faithmariah.com and check it out. This is like impromptu plug, but I've been working really hard on it, and I think you guys are really going to like it. There's some really cool stuff that we're going to be launching and selling in there this year. So it's kind of a way for me to put some more affordable things out for you guys. So we're very excited about that. But the Shopify thing, I've never done that. I had to learn the whole back end of it. I had to figure out how to connect it to Kajabi. We had to figure out how are we going to do payments. I had to figure out the themes and how to install that and how to adjust the plugins. And there's a whole setup, right? I'm also learning Facebook ads right now. We're practicing ads because I think that's going to be a big part of my strategy next year. And so I think that's normal that you're kind of always learning things and kind of always in a certain level of discomfort, right? Like I think learning new things can cause discomfort because it requires a lot of brain energy, it requires a lot of focus, it requires a lot of trial and error. It can also require uncomfortable emotions, like being frustrated. I'm sure anybody that's ever done something like build Shopify or build a website, like you feel frustrated sometimes, right? Things often take longer. I always say things take longer and cost more money than we think. That can be frustrating. It can be disappointing, right? It can be exciting. Like you're going to have all those ranges of emotions, but you just want to watch what is your brain making it mean. So if something is hard and taking longer, if something is hard and costing you more money, what does your brain make that mean? And you just want to understand those are optional layers of suffering. So if you find that useful, right? We teach a whole framework about this in the mastermind about how to kind of figure out what your thoughts are creating and which thoughts are useful to you and which thoughts kind of fuel you and which thoughts kind of slow you down. But for the short version for the podcast right now, you just want to be aware of, is this thought useful to me? Is it useful for me to think about so and so stuff is so much better than mine? Like, for example, right? And we talk a lot about this in the mastermind, but we always say like it doesn't matter if something's true, right? This is my favorite analogy for this is I have a very deep fear of being in a head-on collision in a car. And there was a time where we were renting a house on a very, very busy street, like where the speed limit is like 65 miles an hour, basically like a highway. So we were in a subdivision off this big highway. And I would think all the time about somebody swerving into my lane and hitting me head on and being in this like horrific accident. And that could happen, right? Like that could be true, right? So what I say in business is it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It matters, is it useful for you to focus on or not? Could it be true that I could get in a head-on collision when I'm driving my car? Yeah, that's true, right? I could probably even go find a bunch of evidence for it, right? I could Google it and find stats and be like, oh, but this and this and this, right? And make a whole bunch of arguments about how it is possible and how it is true. But is that useful for me to focus on how I could be in this horrific accident when I'm driving? Like, it's not useful for me to focus on if I want to be able to drive my car and not be incredibly anxious all the time, right? And so I just have to redirect my brain when my brain starts trying to go down that path. I used to kind of do this thing where it was like, you're right. Oh my gosh, this is so scary. I can't believe this. And focus on all of the things that could go wrong, all of the accidents, all of the stuff, all of the stats about accidents, all this stuff, right? Now I just redirect my brain, right? Your brain is always going to offer you this stuff, but you get to decide kind of how much power you give it, right? I think questioning it and recognizing it's just a thought and just a story takes some of the power away. Sometimes our brain will offer us things like, my stuff's just not as good as so and so. And we'll be like, oh my gosh, you're right. Let me focus on all of that. Let me go look at all her stuff. Let me think really hard about how inadequate I am. And it's like, could that be true? Could it be true that so and so is better than you? Sure. Is it useful for you to think about if you want to continue growing your online business? Probably not, because if we play that out in your body, it probably feels very heavy and it probably doesn't create the result of you creating more work, putting more things out in the world. I always say, like in business, I think a lot of business is speed, just making decisions and failing quickly and recovering fast and just staying in the game and being fast. I think a lot of people have it backwards where they think thinking and being thoughtful is what's going to make them successful. But I actually think it's speed. I think the people that I see that come into the mastermind and really kind of have these breakout years, they are trying a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff, right? And so you want to think about, what am I making things mean when things are hard? And is that giving me speed or is it slowing me down? Right. And you want to start identifying, what could I think, right, that would give me speed. So some thoughts you guys can try out that you can borrow, that you can redirect your brain to when your brain is like, I suck, this will never happen, or you're comparing, like, so and so stuff is better, and we're catastrophizing, and we're perfectionism, and we're doing all these things. We can redirect our brains to these thoughts. You guys can borrow these, right? This is hard, but I've overcome challenges before, right? And so you probably have a lot of evidence of things you've done that were hard that maybe aren't hard anymore, right? So a lot of times when we do new things, it's very hard and uncomfortable. Once you do it for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it usually is not the same level of hard, right? And I think that's can be a very empowering thought, is like, it's hard right now, but it's not going to be hard forever, right? So me first learning Shopify was very difficult, but it's not going to be that level of difficult every time I sign on to Shopify, right? So it's really difficult right now, but it's not going to be difficult forever. It is difficult right now, but I've done lots of hard things. I'm always like, that's not a problem for me. I've done lots of hard things in my life, right? I'm learning and growing, right? So it's supposed to be uncomfortable. Things like that about growth, I think, can be really useful. About it's hard and I want to be someone that does hard things. That's one of my favorites. It's like, it's hard and I want to be someone that tackles the challenges I need to tackle to have the life I want. I want to be a person in this life that does hard things. I'm committed to finding solutions, right? It's hard, but I'm going to figure it out. It's hard, but I'll figure out a way to make it easier. It's hard, but it's not going to be like this forever. It's hard, but it's just one season of business, right? These are more useful places to take your brain. And so I hope you guys can use some of these thoughts and hopefully they're helpful to you. And just be aware of, what are you doing right now that feels difficult, and just audit your brain. Do a little thought audit. It's like, it's like, what are, in the mastermind, we teach this framework where it's like you pull out the facts and you pull out the stories. So it's like, what are the actual facts that are true? It might be like, I spent 12 hours designing my website and it's still not live. That could be a fact. A fact has to be something everyone would agree on that you could prove in a court of law, right? And then there's the stories. I have a coach that calls it the scary tales, right? It's like, what do you make that mean? Right. So if we have a website, we've worked on our website for 12 hours and the website's still not ready to go live, that's our facts. And then the optional stories, the things I see a lot of people kind of tell themselves is like, and it shouldn't be taking that long. I'm wasting so much time. I'm wasting so much money. What if this doesn't even work? I don't even know if this is ever going to happen. Why did I think I could do this? What if this is all for nothing, right? It's not working now and it's never going to work. Those kind of thoughts are the optional additional suffering. Right. And so you can clean it up by just letting it be hard, that the website is building is hard, and then getting rid of the optional levels of suffering. You're still going to have the discomfort of learning the new thing. You're still going to have the hard of teaching yourself how to do the web design or teaching yourself how to do sales or whatever it is you're trying to learn. You're still going to have that discomfort, right? But a lot of times it's a lot more manageable because I think the things that become really, really painful are these really painful stories that we tell about ourselves, about our business, about our future, right? All these things we make it mean. And so I think just being aware of this, like I'm saying, can take a lot of power out of it and can start neutralizing it. If you're not aware of it, it just feels true, right? You're just like, yeah, so and so is better than me. So this probably isn't going to work. And it just feels like your brain is reporting the news, and you want to be aware of what are the facts here, and then what is the scary tale I'm telling about the facts. And that's where the leverage is. And I think this is a lot more important than most people realize. And this is why I love coaching business, right? I am a social worker by trade. I have a degree in psychology. I worked in domestic violence. I worked with at-risk youth, right? My background is all in social work. I've always been interested in psychology and relationships and mindset and personal development, all this stuff. And I love coaching entrepreneurs because I actually think it is like personal development boot camp. Like you have got to manage your brain because when you're an entrepreneur, you're doing so many new things and you're so outside your comfort zone so often. It kicks in that primal part of your brain a lot and it requires a lot of discipline, thought discipline, mindset discipline to be able to manage that, to be able to stay out of fight or flight, to be able to stay out of the overwhelm, right? A lot of this stuff is like, can you stay out of overwhelm? Can you stay on a line of thinking that allows you to produce at the level you need to produce? This is something I've been thinking about a lot. I might make a whole podcast about this. You guys let me know if this is something you would want. You can always DM me on Instagram. I don't always reply, but I do read all of them. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. But what I've been thinking about is how can I be a higher level producer? Meaning, how can I output more at a higher level? And when I think about doing that, a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is being able to maintain focus blocks. A lot of it is about maintaining a normal schedule. A lot of it is about eating healthier, working out. Like I'm developing all these healthy habits that will support me in producing more at a higher level. And so you could kind of look at your thoughts that way too, right? Like I've been auditing all my habits about how can I become a higher level producer, right? But you can also audit your thoughts that way. Like, is this thought going to let me produce more at a higher level, or is it going to make me produce less? And if it's going to make you produce less, what do I want to focus on instead? Right. And so instead of letting my brain just focus on like, I could die in a head-on collision, I could die in a head-on collision, we could get in an accident. This is really scary, right? I redirect my brain away from that thought to something else. Like I could get in an accident, but I'm safe right now, right? It's true. Like I could get in an accident, but I still want to be able to drive my car and leave my house, right? Those are the kind of things that I'll take my brain to that help me. You have to find the things that neutralize things for you, right? And the other thing I'll say is when you're redirecting your thoughts, here's a little hot tip for you guys. When you're redirecting your thoughts, one of the big mistakes I see people make is they try to gaslight themselves into thinking things they don't believe is true. Right. So if I am driving my car and I've been gathering all this evidence about how I could be in a head-on collision, and I tell myself, I'm completely safe. I'm completely comfortable in this moment. I'm completely safe. But I don't feel that way and I don't think that way. I don't really think I'm 100% safe. That is just gaslighting yourself. It's not really useful. Right. And that's why I go to the thoughts that feel true to me, right? So with the car stuff, it's like, even though I could get in an accident, I still want to drive my car. That feels true to me, right? Being like, I'm 100% safe and protected. That doesn't feel real to me. It doesn't feel true. It might feel true to you, but it doesn't feel true to me, right? And so make sure when you're redirecting your thoughts that you go to something that feels true. And I always say, like, just go broader, right? And I love this formula of like, even though whatever, I still want to blah, blah, blah. So it looks like even though Jessica's stuff is way better than mine, I still want to practice. Even though Jessica's stuff is way better than mine, I still want to see what happens if I try to build a business. That might feel a lot more true than just redirecting to like, my stuff is amazing and there's tons of people that want to buy from me if you don't believe that's really true, right? And so find thoughts that are useful, right? That take you towards being a high level producer and that feels true to you. So this is just like a little mindset rant. I've got some practical business tips coming up for you guys on the podcast that I'm really excited about. Check out the website, faithmariah.com. Hopefully, by the time you guys are listening to this, the shop is live. So you can go check out my Shopify store and see all the things in it and be on the email list. So, a really hot tip is I have sketched out a few different very special promotions that we're going to be running. That's all I'm going to tell you guys right now. There's a few very special promotions we're going to be running before the end of the year. Most of you guys are going to want. I'm like, you're going to want it. Like, I don't know. Like, I think most of you are really going to want it. And so I would definitely be on the email list. I've also been sending a newsletter every Friday, Saturday-ish. I've been sending a newsletter that has action tips you can use to grow your business, mindset tips, and then like my favorite things of the week. And people are really loving that. So get on the email list and you'll get the newsletter and then you'll get the special promotions that we're going to be running for the new Faith Mariah shop that we're very excited about. I've got some new products that are going to be releasing that I think will really help your guys' business and help you get where you want to go. Get on the wait list for the Becoming Boss Mastermind. If this is resonating with you and you're like, man, I need like support with this. I need help with this. The mindset work is not easy work. Like it's very difficult and it requires a lot of self-awareness. We have some really powerful tools we teach inside the mastermind, as well as doing the sprints with the entire community. I love doing the 90-day sprints because you're going to make your 90-day plan and then we're going to spend 90 days like looking at your thoughts, auditing your thoughts, coaching yourself on your thoughts. And that's really what I love about the 90-day plan. It's like, yeah, it keeps you in action, it keeps you focused. But because you're in action and because you're focused on producing results, you have to learn how to manage your mind, or you're not going to be able to get that stuff done in a 90-day window, right? So it kind of puts your feet to the fire. It brings your stuff up, right? It kind of makes you get off the sidelines and into the game because it's time to do your 90-day plan. Most people, I'm like, you got to sell something. Like, if we're going to have a business, we got to be selling something. And most of the time when we go to do sales, app brings their stuff up. Or for some people, it's like they got to get on camera, right? And that's going to bring their stuff up. And I'm like, that's great. Like, as a coach, like that makes me excited because if you guys are experiencing discomfort, I know you're moving forward. It's the people that are avoiding discomfort. Those are the people I worry about. Those are the people that I have a hard time getting results, right? The people that are just willing to run into feeling discomfort, that are willing to feel feelings of failure and disappointment and all these different things, those people were able to get some kind of result for them, right? It's like you're not going to be in the community for a whole year doing these 90-day plans, doing everything with the community, doing all the challenges, feeling all this discomfort and not figure anything out. Like you're gonna figure something out, right? And so, anyway, all that to say, come in the mastermind. It's closed right now, but it'll be opening again probably in January. I've been thinking about doing something for Black Friday, but you guys know me, and I usually decide our Black Friday sale like at the last minute. So we'll see what comes up. We'll see what comes up. But anyway, you can get on the wait list for the mastermind. We'll let you know when it opens. That's that. I hope to talk to you guys soon. Like I said, I've got some strategy podcasts coming up, so be sure to tune in for that, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.